This is Live with Mama Coco. Yes, I said live with Mama Coco. Mama Coco, life and style. We're going to bring style to the screen today. We're going to bring fashion to the screen today. We give God praise and thanks today for giving us the opportunity to welcome a daughter of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, she lives in Trinidad and Tobago. She was born in the United States of America, you know, from parents, Caribbean parents. Her mother, Denise Soyafat. Yes, Angus. Yes, yes, yes. And her father being Jamaican. Today, Mama Coco is so pleased and happy because I knew this young woman when she was a little girl. And today I am so excited to see her professionalism, to see her growth, to see what she has spent her life, her young life, dreaming of and put into place. Dayle Abeje, yes, Abeje Angus. Welcome to Mama Coco Life and Style today. My name is Cora Pantin.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you are welcome. You are so welcome. And before I start, I will do as protocol. Almighty and most merciful Father, today in this thy mercy day, as I bow before you with grace and with honor, the same grace that you gave to me, dear God, you said that you're going to give us sufficient grace. So even if it may seem smaller than your grace, brothers and sisters, which I invite you to, and to enjoy the same grace, but it may be in a different portion. Because, you know, regardless to what portion it is, he says that his grace is sufficient for us. So please, brothers and sisters, welcome. Young. Yes. It's an honor, though. It's a deep honor. Welcome, young Dayle Abeje Angus.
Thank you.
And the people said amen.
Amen.
Amen, yes. So, Dayle Angus, I love your smile. I want you to build up your strength here today because you are on live with Mama Coco.
Yes.
And Mama Coco, center yourself a little, Dayle. Come this way. Yes.
It's a little better, yeah.
Come a little bit more. I want you center screen because you have so much to say and I want everybody to see you and get to know you. So let me introduce the people of the world to you, Dayle. And
hi, thank you.
Yes, and my name today on the show is Mama Coco, and it gives me pleasure and it gives the Spirit of Truth pleasure to be here with you as you are a child to me. So I am really Mama Coco to you today. So Dayle Abeje Angus, welcome to Live with Mama Coco Sundays. Special thing, you know. Sundays are a special day. A day when we highlight style, fashion, personality, and introduce people to see and know you as a person and to know you now as an entrepreneur, a designer. Well, this is awesome. Big, big news today. Dayle, tell us about your upbringing in the USA, Jamaica, Tobago, your family and community, etc. Dayle, the floor is yours.
Me? You can hear me, right? Okay.
I'm
thank
now
you for
hearing
having
you. I didn't
me
hear you before.
again. Thank you again for having me. Where do I start? So, as you said, I was born in the States. I'm the product of two Caribbean parents. My father is Jamaican and my mother is from Trinidad and Tobago. And I guess from a young age, they would have had the sense of wanting myself and my siblings to experience home culture, right? You know, yes, we were living in the States, but at the same time, they thought it was very important for us to know where we came from and to know our families. So they decided that we were going to move to Jamaica first. And I was able to spend 4 to 5 lovely years living there and going to school there. And then my mom was ready to come home. So we packed up and moved to Trinidad and Tobago, which we've been in Tobago for the past, oh my gosh, so many years, like close to 15 years now, a very long time. So
Close
I
to
think,
15?
yeah, it's more than 15 years now. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
more than 15 years. Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of the best experiences I could have had. Being able to live and experience three different, completely different cultures, and also just have family members with different perspectives and, different ways of teaching you how to become and grow up into an adult. So something I really appreciate is the fact that I was able to have the experience of living in three different places before, as a kid. And also it helped kind of shape my worldview a little bit, in a sense. I am the first of three children. I have two younger brothers, Dylan and Daniel, who I am extremely proud of. Dylan is doing artificial intelligence and mathematics. He just graduated last year, and he's from Edinburgh in Scotland. And then Daniel is at a tennis training camp in Miami, Florida. So I'm just really proud of the two of them, because I mean my parents are both doctors and all of us decided to not be doctors. It's amazing to actually see us thrive and be our individual selves and be able to actually be successful even though we're not traditional. Yeah.
So you are clearly multinational,
Yeah.
multicultural, and you are saying that you have two other brothers. So you are the
Yes.
only girl in the
I'm the
midst
only
of
girl.
in the midst
Yes,
of three.
I'm the only
Yes.
girl. Yeah.
You could tell us about that too, being the only girl amongst these
Amongst
strong,
the boys.
vibrant, because I knew the youngest one when he was very,
Yeah.
very young,
Yeah.
and he was not a quiet one.
No,
Always
he's not.
busybody, always
Yeah.
busybody.
The experience, it's something I would never take away. I can't imagine my world without my two brothers. I absolutely can't. It's, I think I have been spoiled being the only girl, so I get a little bit more attention from my dad. Because we have a special bond that he doesn't necessarily get to have with my brothers, but then my brothers make up for it with my mom. Like those are her, her bosom buddies. Um, but I enjoy having brothers. I mean, the experience is one where you get to see them grow into young men and into adults, and you see how their personalities are shaped from when they were kids. And I think just being able to be there to also teach them how to treat women, and just things that as a girl I like and I dislike, and my actually seeing that my brothers pay attention to those things, so when they approach women, or when they approach girls, they behave a certain way, they carry themselves a certain way. So I think that is one of those things that you're really proud of, but it's interesting to see because you don't think that you really influence them that much until you realize that you do. So, yeah. The experience of having brothers is nothing. I wouldn't change it. I mean, at one point when I was small, I wanted a sister, but now I'm just like, I'm happy being the only girl, you know? So,
So you don't have to share. You don't
I,
have to share any girl experiences and
no,
deceit and defeat. And she want to be and she want to be. Oh, she want to get more
yeah.
attention. Then you didn't have that.
I didn't
You
have
didn't
that.
have that.
The only thing is that I shop in my mom's closet and she does the same with me. So I'm just a little grateful because I'm a little bit more hippie than her. So she can't really, my clothes are a little too big for her now. So
Oh yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. That was very nice. Well, tell us about Jamaica now. Tell us about Jamaica, where you remember about Jamaica, and then when you come to Tobago.
Oh,
Yes.
what I can remember, I mean, I go back to visit quite often. I was back there last year. But what I can remember of growing up there was the food is amazing.
Yes.
It's just amazing. And just the vibrancy of the people and the kindness of the people is something a little bit different. I moving from Jamaica at such a young age, when I moved to Tobago, it was a little bit more difficult for me to make friends because I moved when I would have been going into standard five. So everybody would have had their friends groups and I would have just been the new girl, you know. And what I remember being in Jamaica is that I think because they were a little bit more exposed to families coming back from abroad, it was a little bit easier for me to find friends who didn't necessarily have a thick accent or, you know, spoke differently, right? And they were a little bit just more open to it and just a lot more friendly. And then moving to Tobago, it was very hard. People here were just like, you know, who's this Yankee? And just very aggressive. So so it was
So
it was a
so
little difficult. It wasn't the
so
easiest.
you leave America, you went to Jamaica, and when you get to Trinidad, they're calling you Yankee. So you didn't learn
So
no,
no, I
so
did, but the thing
you
is,
didn't learn any Jamaican.
I had an accent, but I just spoke standard English. But obviously, you know, in the media and what they would have known of a Jamaican accent isn't necessarily what I sounded like. So they're just like, "You're not from Jamaica." I don't know what you know, like people. It was, and I had Loxton as well.
well give us a little
So
Jamaica accent.
I don't have one. No, I right now I don't have. The parish that I lived in Jamaica, just to answer the question on the screen, was St. Andrew. I lived in Kingston, but my father's family is originally from originally from Montego Bay. So I would have been back and forth between Kingston and Montego Bay a lot, visiting my grandmother and my cousins who still live there. So yeah.
So your father didn't kind of teach you to break into Jamaican accent?
He spoke to us in patois. Like he will still speak to us in patois. We can understand patois and we know what words mean. As far as like how well we can execute an accent, I don't really know.
Oh,
I will say that
that's fascinating.
it's one of those things where, and it happens to me even when I'm here, as well as also when I'm speaking to people from the States, my accent switches for itself. So I might be speaking to someone who is Jamaican and my accent might, you know, switch a little bit and I might just start speaking with more of a Jamaican accent, but it's not conscious. It just happens. I don't purposefully try to speak an accent. So,
Oh, okay.
and then when I'm speaking to someone from the States, I don't mean to switch my accent, but it happens and I can't control it.
I know.
I think I just chop it down to the fact that I'm used to just being around so many different people of so many different cultures that my brain is just like, you know, fried at this point.
Yes, according to
Yeah.
where you are and who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what happened when you are multinational. And
Yeah.
I want to say
I guess.
a round of applause for speaking to us today so that a lot of people would know that sometimes my son will just
Yeah.
go straight to Argyle.
Exactly.
He will
Exactly.
leave the States because when he here and he doing work in the States and talking to people in the States, if you go too much West Indian, they would keep asking you,
Ex-
I didn't understand you. What did you
It's
say again?
very,
Can you
yeah,
repeat? So
exactly.
he had was to adapt according to where he went to
Yeah.
school.
He had
He
to
went to
code
school
switch.
upstate. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. And suddenly, yes, that's called, let people know that's called code
It's code
switching.
switching, yeah.
Yes.
Because when I would have left Trinidad and Tobago and I went to my university in Virginia, it was the same thing that ended up happening. I had to code switch, and it was a little bit easier for me to do because I learned the first place I learned to speak was in the States, so it was easier for my brain to just active to immediately just go into that accent without even trying. But it's not
Oh,
like I'm purposefully putting on like an accent for no reason. It was just easier to speak with people when I'm not speaking with a heavy Caribbean accent. Because there are
yes.
times when I might just say a word and they're just like, well, what do you mean? So I would say probably comfortable. and they're just like, what is, so they say comfortable, I think is how they say it,
Yes.
but I cannot,
Comfortable.
like, it's just very hard for me to say comfortable that way. So I would say that and just like, what are you so you have to learn how to code switch. So yeah, it's one of those very interesting things that happens when you leave your native area and you move.
Dale, this conversation is very, very, very important. It may seem simple, but you know, a lot of people take children from the Caribbean and we just bring them to the United States and let them go
Yeah.
into the school system and into society, not thinking how hard it is for that child now to assimilate
Yeah,
into the culture. How many people laugh at you? That
exactly.
people are telling me I detect an accent. Yes, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. And I ain't gonna be fighting myself because just a simple three letter word like VEX, vex, you can't use that word amongst a lot of people
Yeah,
in America.
yeah,
They don't know what you're talking about. They don't know what
um
you're speaking about. And to see you put a child to fit in without letting them know it will take some time and to kind of tell them you have to learn like how to spell labor. In Trinidad and Tobago, there is a
yeah.
U. That's British.
Exactly, that was
Tell
the
them
other
something.
thing.
Tell them about the word. Yes.
For example, spelling check. It as in like writing a check. It is always very weird for me because it's C. It has a QUE at the end, right? And for
Yes.
the way that we say it, and then in the States it's just like CK, and I'm like, that's not what the word is, and it's and I'll be, or like if
Yes.
you're typing up a paper, or like you're writing an essay and you're spelling everything in the English language, and it's just different. So yeah, it's very hard.
It's very hard. You see
Hmm.
that omitting of a U when you're pronouncing some word like labor and all
Yeah.
these things, it is the most terrifying thing, even for me,
Hmm.
because thank God for Facebook that have spell check.
The
Because
autocorrect. Yeah.
yeah, because every time you spell the word like labor or even spell night, sometimes you see it move up and it change for
Hmm.
itself because
Yeah.
that's the American way, and we speak and we spell the British way.
Yeah. I think to tie this back to community, it's always very important to find a community within the place that you're living in. So when I would have moved around a lot, we would have ended up finding our own little community. So if I had friends that would have also been moving around a lot as well, when I moved to Tobago, I had friends who used to live in the States and moved back. So I was able to relate to them. And then when I moved up to the States for school, I was able to find other Caribbean students in my school. I went to a predominantly white institution, and it was there were literally five of us, five Caribbean students. At the time when I went, you could count how many of us on campus, and we just found our community and we formed a community together and we stuck together, and we're still friends to this day, and we still acknowledge each other to this day. So it's very important, even though when you move, just finding people who, even if you're not from the same island, it still reminds you of home and it still gives you a sense of belonging.
That's awesome. So the environment and the community have something to do with how you move forward and progress as a Caribbean person.
Hmm.
So where in Tobago did you grow up?
I grew up in a couple places. So my grandparents are originally, well, my grandmother is originally from Rockleeville. But when I would have moved there, they were living in Montpelier. So I would have lived in Montpelier for a short period of time with them. And then we moved to Lowlands because it was a little bit more accessible for my grandfather at the time. He had been getting up in age, and it was just a little bit easier for them to be in a smaller home, to take care of him. So it was, we moved to Lowlands, and then eventually to Mount Irving.
So you really multifaceted. You come back, and instead of come back home and live in one space, you move. So you are a woman, you are a young woman that could speak to almost everyone who trying to make either a movement or who trying to come back.
Yeah,
You understand
yeah,
me? And
yeah.
go
It's
ahead.
funny because I imagine that oh, I'm seeing someone say that we were neighbors in Montpelier. Okay.
Nadine
um
Benjamin. Thank you,
yeah.
Nadine.
um I always speak to the fact that I know that my parents say that we're children of the world. In a sense, we're not children of like one place because we grew up moving around, and it's a little bit easier for us. I guess we're a little bit like chameleons. It's easier for us to just decide and pick up and move and go somewhere and just assimilate or find our own way in moving into a different culture. So even though it might be a little bit difficult in the beginning, it always gets better. You know, you're always able to find friends, you're always able to make friends with people, you're always able to find a community that will work for you. So if anybody is moving or if anybody's going through at that time, just always remember it's going to be hard, but eventually you will love it. You'll find happiness. So.
Thank you so much. You see, you hear a final statement? Give your final statement again there. If anyone, you
You know,
speaking now to the
if anyone is moving around or finding it hard that, you know, they're moving into a different culture or a different space, it's always going to be hard in the beginning, but it gets better. It doesn't always stay hard. It doesn't always stay lonely because a lot of times moving away from home, especially if it's your first time moving away from home, it can be lonely and you don't have a lot of people around you to remind you of home. But it eventually gets better. You always find people who think alike or who speak like you. Somehow, somewhere, there's always a Trinidadian. Somewhere, you're going to find them. So it will get better.
it will get better. Well. This is such a good starting of our show with Dayle Abeje. Yes, Abeje Angus. So Dayle, tell us about your personalized educational experience, including homeschooling.
Homeschooling. Well, as I said, I would have moved around a lot. So I would have moved from the schooling system in Jamaica, which is at the time I would have been in primary school and about to do GSAT, which is their common entrance examination to get into high school. Except that I guess it's kind of like what we used to have, which is where they do every single subject and you have to write. So I moved from that system into Trinidad and Tobago's SEA system. So, excuse me. After moving, it was a little difficult to then, you know, not to say like we're learning completely different things, but it's a little bit different to move from one cultural way of teaching to then into a different culture, and then also studying for a different examination. After SEA, I would have passed for Scarborough Secondary School. My mom would have put bishops on my paper. I wanted to go to Scarborough Sec, and I guess I manifested that, and I passed for Scarborough Sec. My grandmother was not happy about it because they are bishop students. They are all products of bishops, and I was just like, I don't care. And my mom as well has always stressed that it doesn't matter what school you go to, it's what you make of yourself in the school. So even though I would have passed for Scarborough Second, a lot of people would have wanted me to transfer into bishops, and you know, we didn't transfer. I stayed in Scarborough Sec. When I got into third form, my parents decided that, you know, we want to homeschool you. There was a group of parents in Tobago that decided that the schooling system wasn't necessarily working for them and their children, and they wanted to try something different. So my parents would have been one of the parents in that group, and they took me out of school. Everyone thought they were crazy. To this day, my friends tell me, like, you know, they were still calling my name in roll in class, and everyone's like, she's not coming back. um, and, you know, teachers, everyone looked at them crazy. And especially me being taken out of school, they started looking at my brothers because they're just like, okay, they took her out of school, so they're probably gonna take them out of school, which they actually didn't.
Or
And
your
it's
brother
something
stayed.
my brother stated, something to note where each child is different and each child needs a different type of schooling. You know, you have
So,
to you have to pay attention to, your kids and what works best for them
so
individually.
what was the personal reason besides teachers, parents seeing that the school, the system wasn't working right?
Wasn't
Was
um
there something that happened? One
my
minute,
father says that I sorry. Sorry.
1 minute.
Hmm.
Was it? Were you showing a form of weakness to the teaching, or you wasn't progressing the way they think you should have been progressing at the time because
Hmm.
you were in Scarborough Sec?
So,
And it feels such like a visionary move, seeing that
hmm.
we are in COVID right
No,
now,
and yeah.
and it is mandatory. What happened then? It seemed like it's mandatory now, where kids may have to be homeschooled.
Hmm. So from what I can remember, what my dad said is that I tricked him into homeschooling me. Um, this is what he says. I don't know. I don't remember this. But I do remember that at one point in time, they sat me down and they were looking at my grades and they're saying, you're having like a 70% overall and you're coming in like the top 10 in the class. What is the last child in the class coming? If you're coming in the top 10 with a 70%, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the last child out of like 30 students? What is the last child getting in class? So I think that kind of concerned them in a space where it's like, you have kids who are falling through the cracks, you know? And I think I would have kind of complained to my parents. I was a very shy individual. Um, and so I think, yes.
So you think some of the things that you were showing, the signs that you were showing, came
Hmm.
from the movement from Jamaica straight into
Yes.
Tobago, and you
Yeah.
and the mixing with children, and you still was trying to find your way. I'm just asking the questions.
Hmm. And my parents and I have spoken about it. I think at the time it was very hard for me to move because you create friendships and connections, and then you just like sever them. Um, I think at the time in high school, I had my group of friends. It wasn't like I was a loner. I had a group of friends. I think just being very shy and having to move and be around different people. I don't know. I was not really one to like, I didn't relationships with understanding teenage hormones, like with boys. I didn't get it. I was just like, why are we, like what's going on? Why are boys looking at me? I didn't.
Oh,
It has nothing to do with school, but I don't know why I allowed that to like be a thing that I just complained about to my dad. I was just like, the boys there are just like really weird, And so that's why he said I tricked
sorry,
him into
sorry to laugh,
homeschooling
but
him.
but
Yeah.
that sounds so original to me. The
Yeah, no,
boys are
that's what he
behaving
said.
weird.
Yeah. I was just like, why are they looking at me? I don't like how they talk to me. But it wasn't me. I think it was just me being my shy self at that point in time. And I was also very insecure about myself. So I just didn't know, like, if people were looking at me, I was uncomfortable. Now, that wasn't the reason my parents took me out of school, but my dad uses that as he's just like, well, you used to say those things and you tricked me into homeschooling you. Um, but I think mainly for them, it was scary to see that I was, coming higher up in the class and still with a 70%. And so I think, and they've told me this, even when they were in the States, they had always considered homeschooling me for whatever reason. And they just never did it. And I think at that point in time, they had the opportunity. It was perfect because you had other parents who were thinking alike in Tobago at that time. And they wanted to give it a try. And so we gave it a try for about a month. And from there, my parents said it was just working and we decided to just continue. So what we were doing was that it was a small group of us and we had a tutor, but we were using um, like a US system of a curriculum, a US curriculum. And at that point in time, what I thought was really that made a difference for me was that I was learning world history, and I was learning different things that I did not get to learn in our current school curriculum. That made me appreciate, because it understanding and learning world history and not just learning social studies alone made me appreciate a lot more things and be able to have different conversations with people older than me that I wouldn't necessarily be able to have with people in my same age group at the time, right?
Yes.
I'm not saying the US system is better, but I think that our system definitely needs to, we need to really take some time to overhaul it and to, you know, from the ground up, figure out where are we moving our students in the future? What systems, what, um, sorry, what professions are we going to be looking at for the future? What jobs are actually going to be accessible to our kids in the future? Not just doctor and lawyer. Like what else? And you know, they've always spoken about the fact that being creative is going to be way more valuable now than just being academically inclined. You know, so I think for our school system, we really have to take the time to revamp it. Revamp is really the word that I'm thinking of, because I think there are aspects of it that we can still keep. I still think we need to learn Caribbean history. We need to learn world history as well as Caribbean history. It shouldn't be an elective when you get into Form 5 or Form 6. You know, you still need to understand what is going around outside of Trinidad and Tobago. And I think part of the problem why we have such a insular mentality is because we don't know anything about outside until we get to a certain age. So we're not exposed to it. We're only exposed to what we see on TV, you know?
Oh my goodness. So you are saying that you benefited from homeschooling. So when
Yeah.
you get into homeschooling and you get yourself into a smaller group where you can
Hmm.
choose friends now, how easy was that for you?
Um, honestly, I think we had such a really great group of people. It was literally like four or five of us, and we all got along. Like, there was no tension. There was no, like, well, I don't like this person. I think we just came from our families, just got along. So it was easy to school with them. And also, I still had outlets. And this is something very important. So I played tennis very heavily when I was younger. I played tennis quite often, and so because of that, I still had outlets to see other friends, to see friends from school, to meet new people. And it's also another activity to keep your child well rounded. I think part of the problem is that we focus so much on academics and we don't focus on anything else outside of that, that our kids become, you know,
Robots.
yeah, we become robots. You know, they don't really know how to interact with people outside of a school setting, you know? And for me, because at one point the group ended up breaking up because we didn't have a tutor again and we were learning from home. I was still friends with them. We would still see each other. Sometimes we might study together, but it ended up being my dad being my main teacher at home,
Oh.
right? And so half the time I was in his office, his dental office. And so I'd be in the office, and in between patients, he would come and check in to see how I was doing with my work. But also being in the office and seeing how the office was being run, and also working in the office, because they had me working in the office and I was also working with my grandmother in her pharmacy, right?
Mm.
So from a young age, it's understanding a business background and understanding how to deal with people and understanding customer
Yes,
service.
yes, I love that human relationship.
Yeah.
Plus, plus you had your brothers in the public school. So
Yes.
so
Yeah.
seeing that you said that you had some influence on them and with them, you used to still get to feed off what's happening out
Yeah.
there in the
Yeah.
public scheme. This is amazing. This is a lesson that you are teaching us today, that the
Yeah.
kids now who, because of COVID-19, parents can learn a lot from you.
Yeah.
Your parents seem to be very astute, and I want to
Yeah.
give them a round of applause for making such a decision, and the decision worked,
Yeah.
and
I
the
think
decision can be implemented now.
Yeah, I think, sorry. Yeah. I think, and I was speaking about this with my friend the other night. She's a child psychologist and she's doing tutoring. You were saying that the investment in your children is what makes the biggest difference. So investment doesn't mean the amount of money that you put in, but investment means how much
Child.
attention are you actually paying and time are you actually paying to each child. Um, with my brother, Dylan, traditional schooling worked well for him. Rote memorization worked well for him. It didn't necessarily work the best for me. It may not have necessarily worked the best for my youngest brother, but it worked well for him. And so figuring out my what my parents were able to do was use a kind of combination of their traditional schooling and also use some of the tools that I would have had at my disposal for my brothers as well. So at one point I was doing mathematics, Singapore mathematics, which is basically just their system of teaching math, right? It's a different way of
Singapore.
Singapore, right? So it was just their way of basically teaching math. It's not a different system of math, but a different way of teaching it, right? And that worked for me. It's the same equations, but it taught me how to figure out the equations a little bit differently.
The
And my
formula,
brothers both yes, a
the
different formula.
formula was different. Okay.
Right. And both my
Mm.
brothers had access to that and used that. Right. So, and to the point now where my little
Listen,
brother,
listen to
yeah,
me. You have to continue this. But I am saying this right now.
yeah,
The school board, those that prepare curriculum and stuff, they can learn a lot
yeah.
from what you are speaking here because I didn't know they
Oh,
had a Singapore mathematics. What is
yeah,
this in my head here today? No wonder why they say the older
yeah,
you, the older you yes, he's saying is Singapore mathematics. I've never heard of that. And I want to
yeah.
tell people that is I learned
Mm-hmm,
mathematics from my daughter teaching my son, her brother,
mm-hmm,
and I sat down there and suddenly she said, because every job that I wanted to do, any profession I wanted to get into, like nursing, the only reason why I did not is because
mm-hmm.
of the scare of doing mathematics.
Right. Yeah,
Going to the Cordon Bleu school for chef, to become a chef, mathematics prevented me from doing a lot of stuff until my daughter said, come on. And she gave me, I get pen and paper, and she started to show me a
mm-hmm,
little bit of algebra because I never could understand where A and B plus C could equal what. I
mm-hmm.
really didn't know anything about
Yeah,
these things. I didn't
yeah,
get the formula. So the
yeah.
word
And
today
it,
is the same way you have to get the formula of milk to feed a baby. We need a formula to
yeah.
teach mathematics.
But
And
the,
you are telling us today that there are other ways of
yes,
getting that done.
yeah, because I was gonna say, the problem we have in our system is that we don't focus on the fact that children learn differently. Some children are more visual and some children are not as visual. Some children are more auditory. You cannot be teaching each child the same exact way. I'm not, it is very hard to obviously to break up the classroom into like teaching each individual child, but you have to mix up the way in which you teach, right? And what I noticed when I was in the States was that you actually have teaching degrees, you have educational degrees that I had friends in school who actually had to study to become teachers. They had to get a degree to become a teacher. And with that, you're actually learning some form of psychology, and it helps you understand and see signs of when children have learning disabilities, right? We don't have that here. We literally just have people who get a certain amount of subjects or have a degree in something and then they just send them to teach. That's not how it's supposed to be. As you
Oh,
know,
hallelujah.
yeah.
Well, you are beating this 64-year plus old woman with such an
Mm-hmm.
educational stick. Because when I'm talking all my life as a young girl, I don't understand maths. And instead of finding a way to give me the formula, I know you asking me thing about degrees. I don't even know that it's 360 360 I have to take away 240 from. So the rest is the answer. I didn't know that. I learned that as a adult from from a guy who I was hanging out with from Charlottesville. His name is Sinclair McKenna. Yes, Sinclair McKenna was an agricultural officer. Yeah, yes, and he's the one who. And I said, "What the hell? An anger? I don't know what."
Yeah.
And he show me and he tell me if it's 360 and they take away 240. And I asked myself, so simple. And that is what Pepe, a teacher from Delgado, my own family, Pepe Lewis was the mathematical teacher there in Roxborough Sec. And he tell me, you will never do maths.
Yeah, and you can't speak to children that way because it stays in your mind. It stays in your brain that you can't
Kill
do
me.
it. And you literally kill people's spirits. You can't do that. And I think that's why it's important for teachers to have some form of psychological, not
Training.
assessment, but training, so that they understand that there are certain ways that you can and cannot say to children and how it'll affect them in the future. And just being able to pinpoint when one child may be having more of a difficult something than another, you know, and being able to handle that. Or how do you handle a child that is exhibiting ADHD symptoms in class? The child doesn't need to be beaten. Clearly there's something else going on with the child. And because we don't have those skills, it is you have a lot of children who are falling through the cracks, you know.
Oh my goodness. So you had practical mathematical training at the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Yes, where you
Yeah.
used to be with your grandma. Well,
Yeah.
we are so stuck at this point because this point have so much energy. I think we lost Dale for a little bit, and this is going in a space that is taking me way back to the abuse I got in a maths class.
Yes, sorry, I'm not sure what happened there.
Yes, I was just saying in your absence that you are taking me back into such an abuse area when it comes to teaching me math. I was good at everything, writing, everything, except how to conjugate. I wasn't good at conjugation. I thought that conjugate was in just Spanish and French. Is my daughter again. By by being around her,